Know a perfect neighbor? From the perfect garden spot in his backyard, he thought he was just chatting with his neighbor, on and off throughout the years. And then came some challenges to his life, and it wasn't until his neighbor stepped up and shared about the golden rule and the four life zones that he realized the neighbor could change everything. And he lived right next door. What grew between them wasn't just flowers on the other side of the fence. And so many times, a perfect neighbor is just not perfect. The competition to have the best lawn or the most perfect flower beds can impact how the relationship is born or how it grows and matures. This diary is about two families living side by side and how they shared life and stories and celebrations and wisdom too. The Perfect Neighbor and an Unexpected Bond is our title today. Welcome to Dream Builders Diaries, building dreams one story at a time. I'm Jeannie Craft. Here at Dream Builders Diaries, we dive deep into the personal stories of entrepreneurs and artists and innovators and visionaries just like you. We believe that every dream starts with a story worth telling, and by sharing these stories, we aim to empower you to create your own dream and the story behind it. But before we get started, grab a paper and a pencil if you don't already have one. Inspiration, ideas, and dreams come and go very quickly. Jot yours down and don't let yours get away. Two strangers in the beginning. The perennial blooming flower bed, one simple fence, and a friendship that changed everything. What grew between them was flowers, one life-changing friendship, and support was found every time they talked over the fence. But no one really knew what was happening there. I glanced out my window a few minutes ago, looking out at the neighborhood. There are many newer looking homes. No giant condo buildings, but single family homes on a quiet street, many which have had a facelift. Every time I looked out my window with the sun streaming across my desk, I could see all the houses where my neighbors lived their lives. My glance lingered on one neighbor's property in particular, not because it was a mess or had a basketball hoop in the driveway or a broken down car parked outside of the garage. Nope. This house was a home that was loved and had been cared for many, many years. Realizing that while the immaculate house and yard was still there, I realized once again that the people who had lived there and kept it that way were long gone. The tears began to slide down my face as memories nudged my brain. Over 33 years of memories. Our houses are both living and functional, but theirs was neat as a pin, both inside and out. Ours had a cottage garden rotting beside the one side of the house, and the plants had had their best times in years past. Oh, I wish I had learned more about gardening from them. Our ages were wide. I was in my 20s when we first moved in, and Andy and Angie were already retired. They were Catholic, and I was a young Seventh-day Adventist. His was a Hispanic background, while mine was mostly German. We always asked about each other's families. They had met my parents on their various trips when they had come to town. Angie and Andy always had them over for butter cake and green tea. And if you've ever had butter cake, you know butter cake melts in your mouth and keeps you coming back for more. So many fence conversations, the mundane stuff, the small talk as neighbors will, but also the deep conversations that leave you thinking way into the next season. Some of those conversations went on for months on various topics, and my mind drifted to the many main celebrated milestones we'd shared together, like their 50th wedding anniversary. Boy, talk about a celebration for the ages. Who knew that an event planned for about 100 people would have to be moved to a park so well over 350 people could come and celebrate their love? We laughed in dismay at the antics of the feral cats. Andy secretly fed and watered them after his wife died, and yet he wouldn't actually admit it. He would just talk about the fact that all animals need to be fed. What fun. I always knew when it was Thursday because Angie volunteered at the food bank. At Easter time, she would deliver little Easter baskets to the kids and the grandkids and all of the little around the neighborhood. Al always kept an eye out for me and would let me know if he felt something should be addressed, especially in my yard. As time passed, my job became a great burden. It seemed like there was no end to the challenges and the non-responses from my bosses and the company. And as a manager, I had no one to talk to. Al became that outlet. Al was a tremendous boost to my sagging ego for this last few years. And I always felt better when I left his company. He would talk to me about that first and greatest commandment. It is to love God, and the second is to love my neighbor as myself. Both of these messages were applicable to the situations at work. But why? I closed my eyes and the tears fell. Moments later, the memories triggered a question in me. I wondered, what kind of neighbor am I? Al taught me that there were four zones for which work for him after the two golden rules about love. Here are those four zones. First is your comfort zone, safe and comfortable. Comfortable because it's comfortable and it does not challenge you really. The majority of people function best in this zone. It's kind of low risk, low reward. The second is your fear zone. Low confidence, finding excuses, affected by others' opinions. Many fear this zone and do not like to hang in this zone for very long. Feels like high risk and have low or maybe a little bit higher rewards. Third is your learning zone. Facing challenges and problem solving, acquiring new skills, and extending and growing your comfort zone. Higher risk and high reward. Now, and he always saved the best for last, is your growth zone. This is where you find purpose. You live your dreams and you set new goals and you conquer objectives. This is where living the life of abundant gratitude comes in. Lowest risk, highest reward. I knew what kind of neighbor Al was. He helped with his end of our conversations. He always upheld them. He also was the easiest business person I had ever worked with. The wind blew our fence down between the properties one year, and Al came to me within hours. He had already researched and found a person who would come out and fix the fence within just hours. I was so surprised. He was mostly concerned about his flower beds in which the winds had crushed. He cared about those plants. Boy, did he ever. The rose bushes would be fine, and if the branches had not been broken, that would be the best. The rest of the flowers were pretty much perennials, which would live more than 2 years and would come again next season. The annuals, he could easily replace those. That's when I felt the warmth, not just the sun coming through the window. It felt like I'd actually spoken to my perfect neighbor, Al. I missed him, but I thanked him in my heart once again for taking me under his wing. Why this diary? Because this diary demonstrates the magic and the secrets of compassion and patience and trust. Unfortunately, not all of us even know our neighbors. Who do you share with? I also share this diary because this powerful diary celebrates the virtues of endurance and courage and the moments that mean the most. Those memories are special and can be treasured for the rest of my life. It started with flower beds, a blown over fence, working together, and turned into something neither expected. Sometimes the smallest conversations grow into the biggest miracles and solutions. So to recap, what's your biggest takeaway from our diary today? And how does this diary relate to how you set up the resources and materials you bring to your life stream? Dreamers, believe in yourself, be passionate, work smart, know your why, and apply what you learn each day. So you ponder the source of your dream in this diary. I wish you well. I wish you an abundance of resources and knowledge and wisdom with all your time and your future success with your dream. Enjoy life and always be kind. I want to leave you with a quotation. I have always believed that the greater danger is not in aiming too high, but too low, settling for a bogey rather than shooting for an eagle. That was Peter Scott. I read it again. I've always believed the greater danger is not in aiming too high, but too low, settling for a bogey rather than shooting for an eagle by Peter Scott. Special thanks to my friend Rose for sharing this story. Special thanks to those you who listen to Dream Builders Diaries regularly. I am grateful to you. The honor to spend time with you is all mine. If you don't have it yet, get your 90-Day Dream Builder's Diary by Jeannie Crapp on Amazon. Like and share this diary and subscribe for more. Contact us to share your story. Thank you. And until next time, building dreams one story at a time.